cold bit through Elena Russo's thin maroon waitress dress as she speed-walked down Mulberry Street, frost crunching under her worn cover shoes. She checked her phone. 6:42 a.m., 18 minutes to make it to Rosie's diner for the breakfast rush. The job wasn't much. Uniform stiff with starch, burnt coffee smell, demanding customers, but it covered rent for the studio she shared with Nonna Maria and paid for her grandmother's insulin. $340 every month, non-negotiable. "Excuse me," she muttered, weaving past early morning vendors setting up carts of fresh bread and vegetables. The smell of Italian bakeries mixed with garbage from the alley shortcuts she'd memorized over 3 years of this route. Her phone buzzed. Mr. Chen, her landlord, another text about the overdue rent, 2 months behind, $2,400. Elena's stomach tightened. She'd gotten Frank Delaney's warning yesterday. "One more time, Russo, and you're done." Being a single guardian to an aging grandmother was a constant high-wire act, and lately the wire had been fraying beneath her feet. Before we get into the story, don't forget to subscribe. We share new stories here every day, and you won't want to miss any of them. Also, tell me in the comments which country you're watching from. I love seeing where everyone's tuning in. Now, let's begin. Elena turned into the narrow alley between Mulberry and Grand, picking up her pace. That's when she heard it. A wet, labored breath, a low groan that sounded like death trying to speak. 20 feet ahead, slumped against the brick wall, a man sat in a spreading pool of his own blood. His expensive charcoal suit was soaked dark at the shoulder and ribs. An Italian leather shoe, the kind Elena had only seen in Fifth Avenue windows, sat in a puddle of crimson. The gun on the ground beside him was still smoking. For a split second, Elena froze, her eyes darting from the dying man to the direction of her workplace, visible just 3 blocks away down Grand Street. 6:47 a.m. She bit her lip, her grandmother's voice in her head. "You were raised better than to walk past suffering." Sir, can you hear me?" Elena dropped to her knees beside him, her hands already reaching for her scarf. The man's eyes cracked open, ice blue, sharp even through the haze of pain, and fixed on her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Non chiamare la polizia," he rasped. "Don't call the police." Elena noticed the tattoo on his neck, a crown with 3 stars partially visible above his blood-soaked collar. She'd seen that symbol on the news, the Harrison crime family. Her heart hammered, but her hands were already pressing her scarf against his shoulder wound. "You're bleeding out. I'm calling 911, but I'll tell them I don't know you." "Bossy, for a waitress," he managed, his lips curling into something almost like a smile, despite the pain twisting his features. Elena was tying her belt around his ribs as a makeshift tourniquet when she caught sight of his face properly. Strong jaw, maybe late 30s, that scar through his left eyebrow. And stupid for helping a man with a gun. His hand shot out, gripping her wrist with surprising strength as sirens wailed in the distance. "They'll ask your name," he said urgently. "Tell them the truth. Someone will come for you. Use the name Marco. He'll take care of you." "I don't want to be taken care of by. You will need it after this." His eyes held hers. "Trust me." The paramedics arrived, their efficient chaos filling the alley. Elena backed away as they loaded him onto the gurney, Detective Chen already approaching with his notebook and that skeptical look she recognized from neighborhood crime scenes. After giving her statement, yes, she'd found him, no, she didn't see who shot him, yes, she was late for work. Elena checked her phone. 7:28 a.m., 40 minutes late. She texted Frank with shaking, blood-stained hands. "Emergency. Someone hurt. Called 911. Coming now." Frank's response came immediately. "Don't bother." Elena stared at the 2 words, her stomach dropping through the pavement. She watched the ambulance pull away. Watched the mysterious man's blood still staining the alley. Watched her entire fragile life crumbling at 7:35 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. She didn't know that Dante Valentino, the most dangerous man in New York's underworld, had just decided she belonged to him. She didn't know that helping him had signed her name in blood across a contract she couldn't read. All she knew, she needed to get to Rosie's and somehow save her job. The day Elena Russo's life changed forever had started like any other. It just hadn't ended that way. Elena burst through Rosie's diner doors at 7:47 a.m., the bell jangling like an alarm. The breakfast rush hit her like a wall, orders backing up on the pass, the sizzle and clang of the kitchen in overdrive, customers craning their necks looking for refills that weren't coming. The smell of burnt toast and desperation. Maria caught her eye from behind the counter, her expression a mix of sympathy and warning. Sophie, balancing 3 plates on her arms, mouthed, "He's furious," as she rushed past. Then Frank Delaney emerged from the kitchen, his face the color of undercooked hamburger meat, and Elena knew. She'd known from his text, but some part of her had hoped. "Care to explain why you're 50 minutes late, Russo?" His voice carried over the diner's noise, loud enough that conversations stuttered and died. Heads turned. Forks paused midway to mouths. Elena's throat tightened. The blood under her fingernails suddenly felt like evidence. "A man was shot. I found him in an alley. I called 911. Another excuse." Frank's smile was all teeth, no warmth. "I warned you. Twice this month you've waltzed in here late with some sob story." "Frank, I have blood on my hands." Elena held them up, the dried brown stains visible on her palms, under her nails. Her scarf was gone, left in some hospital trash can, but the proof of what she'd done remained. A man was dying. "I don't care if the Pope himself was bleeding out." Frank crossed his arms, his voice rising. "You're unreliable. Have been since day one." "That's not true." Elena wanted to scream it, wanted to remind him of every double shift she'd covered, every holiday she'd worked, every time she'd stayed late to help close, but she could see it in his eyes. He'd been waiting for this, the subway delay 3 weeks ago when she'd been 12 minutes late. Tyler's school emergency 2 weeks ago. The kid had split his head open on the playground, and Elena had to sign the hospital forms because she was listed as his emergency contact, and she'd been 30 minutes late that day. Frank had written her up both times. And before that, a year ago, when Frank had cornered her in the supply closet, his hand on her waist, his breath stale with coffee and cigarettes. "Come on, Elena, you're a pretty girl. We could help each other out." She'd pushed past him, polite but firm. "I'm not interested, Frank." He'd been looking for an excuse ever since. "Clean out your locker." Frank's voice was flat now, final. "You're done." "I've worked here 3 years," Elena's voice cracked, "and been nothing but trouble. I'll mail your final check." He turned to go back to the kitchen. An old regular at the counter, Sam, who always ordered eggs over easy and wheat toast, set down his coffee mug with a sharp clink. "That's harsh, Frank. She helped someone. That's what decent people do." Frank whirled back. "Mind your business, Sam, or take it elsewhere." The diner went silent. Sam stood, tossed a $10 bill on the counter, and walked out. 3 other customers followed. Elena felt every eye on her as she made her way to the tiny staff locker room in the back. Her hands shook as she spun the combination, 14-7-22, her birthday. Inside, a photo of Nonna in a cheap frame, a spare uniform that smelled like grease and broken dreams, and her tips jar. She counted it twice. $47.83. Maria appeared in the doorway, glancing over her shoulder before slipping a folded 20 into Elena's hand. "I'm sorry, honey. He's been waiting for this since, well, you know." Elena nodded. Everyone knew about Frank's wandering hands and bruised ego. Sophie squeezed in beside Maria, her voice dropping to a whisper. "There's something weird about him lately. Past 2 weeks, he's been making these calls in the office. Keeps talking about family business and owing people favors." She paused. "I think he's in some kind of trouble." Elena was too numb to process it. She stuffed everything into her purse, photo, uniform, money, and walked through the diner one last time. Every step felt like dragging weights. Outside, the cold air hit her face like a slap. She made it 3 steps before Mr. Petrov. The old Russian man who lived on her block intercepted her. "Elena, I saw the ambulance this morning." His accent was thick, but his eyes were kind. "You're good girl. You did right thing." He pressed something into her hand, A $50 bill, folded small and warm from his pocket. For your nonna. She is good woman. You both deserve better than this place. That's when Elena broke. Not sobbing, she was too empty for that. Just tears streaming down her face as she stood on the sidewalk in her stained uniform, everything she owned from Rosie's diner crammed into her purse. The mathematics were brutal and immediate, 97 or 83 sliced from tips and kindness. Frank's final check might be $300 if he didn't find a reason to dock her. That left her with less than $400 against $2,400 in back rent, $340 for Nonna's insulin, groceries, utilities. A phone bill she was already 2 weeks behind on. She was 28 years old, no college degree, no savings, no backup plan, no nothing. Elena found a payphone. Her cell had run out of minutes yesterday, and dialed home with shaking fingers. Pronto? Nonna's voice was bright, cheerful. Hi, Nonna, just checking in. Elena forced her voice steady. Short shift today. I'll be home soon. Elena, baby, you sound tired. Come home. I make lasagna your favorite. The tears came harder. I'll be there soon. Love you. She walked home on autopilot, her body knowing the route even as her mind spun in circles. The alley where she'd found the bleeding man was still there, the blood now dried to dark rust on the pavement. A black sedan idled at the curb nearby. It hadn't been there this morning. 2 men in dark suits sat in the front seat, their faces obscured by sunglasses despite the overcast sky, watching. Elena's heart kicked. She hurried past, her boots loud on the sidewalk, every instinct screaming danger. Mr. Chen was waiting in the lobby of her building, arms crossed. Miss Russo. I know. Elena couldn't meet his eyes. I'll have it by Friday. I've been patient. You're good tenants, you and your grandmother. But my hands are tied. His voice was genuinely apologetic. Friday. Or I start eviction proceedings. Elena climbed 4 flights of stairs because the elevator had been broken for 3 weeks. Each step felt like climbing toward the end of something. The apartment smelled like home, garlic and tomatoes, Nonna's lasagna already in the oven. Opera played on the old radio, Puccini or Verdi, one of Nonna's favorites. The small one-bedroom was cramped but clean. Pictures of family covering every surface, lace doilies Nonna had crocheted protecting the furniture. Nonna emerged from the kitchen, flour on her hands, her face creased with love and worry. She took one look at Elena and opened her arms. Elena held it together until Nonna's embrace, then shattered. I lost my job, Nonna. I don't know what to do. Shh, bambina. Nonna stroked her hair, the way she had when Elena was small and the world felt too big. Then she pulled back, her dark eyes suddenly sharp. You helped someone today, yes? Elena blinked. How did you? Mr. Petrov called. Said you saved a man in the alley. Nonna's hands tightened on Elena's shoulders. What did this man look like? Something in her grandmother's voice sent ice down Elena's spine. I don't know. Late 30s, expensive suit. He had a tattoo on his neck, a crown with 3 stars. Nonna went pale. She crossed herself, lips moving in silent prayer. Madonna mia. Nonna, what is it? That symbol. Nonna's voice was barely a whisper. Crown with 3 stars. That is Valentino family mark. Who are the Valentinos? Nonna pulled Elena to the small kitchen table, sat her down like she was a child needing a difficult truth. Very powerful people, very dangerous. Your nonno, God rest his soul. He worked for old Mr. Valentino once, long time ago, before your mother was born. Elena's mind reeled. Nonno Carlo, who taught her to play chess and make Sunday gravy, had worked for. What does that mean for me? Nonna's eyes filled with tears. It means, bambina, your life is about to change. The knock at the door made them both jump. Elena and Nonna stared at each other across the kitchen table, the opera still playing, the lasagna forgotten. Another knock, firmer this time. Elena crept to the door, her heart hammering against her ribs. She looked through the peephole. A man stood in the hallway. Expensive black suit, dark sunglasses. The kind of presence that said professional and dangerous in equal measure. He held something up to the peephole, a business card, cream-colored with elegant script. One word, Marco. Elena's hand trembled on the doorknob. Behind her, Nona's whisper cut through the opera still playing from the radio. "Don't open it." Another knock, firmer, more insistent. "Miss Russo?" The voice through the door was deep, measured, unthreatening. "I'm not here to hurt you. Mr. Valentino sent me." Elena's pulse hammered in her throat. She cracked the door, chain still latched, and peered through the gap. The man was mid-40s, built like he'd played college football and never stopped training. But his eyes, visible now that he'd removed his sunglasses, were surprisingly kind. "Mr. Valentino wants to thank you for this morning. May I come in?" Every instinct screamed no. But Nonna had gone very still behind her, and Elena found herself unlatching the chain with numb fingers. Marco Benedetti stepped inside, respectful, removing his sunglasses and tucking them into his breast pocket. His gaze swept the small apartment, cataloging, assessing, before landing on Nonna. He smiled, genuine warmth creasing his face. "Mrs. Russo, it's been many years." Nonna's hand flew to her mouth. "Marco Benedetti? Little Marco?" "Not so little anymore, signora." He inclined his head. "Your husband was a good man. He saved my father's life in '82. Elena watched something pass between them. Old knowledge, old debts, the weight of history she didn't fully understand. Nonno Carlo had died when she was 15, taking his stories with him. Or so she'd thought. What does Dante Valentino want? Elena's voice came out harder than intended, defensive. Marco turned to her, reached into his jacket, Elena tensed, and withdrew a thick manila envelope. He placed it on the worn kitchen table with the reverence of someone handling something sacred. $50,000, for your discretion and your kindness. Elena stared. The numbers wouldn't compute. That's 3 years of my salary. Mr. Valentino is generous to those who help him. Her hand reached for the envelope, then stopped midair. What's the catch? This much money isn't free. Marco's smile was approving. Smart girl, your grandfather's granddaughter. He gestured to the chairs. May I? They sat, Elena and Marco at the table, Nonna hovering near the stove where the lasagna was beginning to burn. No one moved to check it. Mr. Valentino would also like to offer you employment. Elena's laugh came out bitter. I'm a diner waitress who just got fired. What could I possibly... Bella Notte, his restaurant in Midtown. Manager position. Marco's tone was professional now, businesslike. $75,000 annually, full benefits, housing allowance. The kitchen tilted. Elena gripped the edge of the table. You're joking. You're organized, loyal, discreet, and you understand sacrifice. Marco leaned forward. You kept your mouth shut this morning when most people would have talked to every reporter with a microphone. That discretion is worth more than any degree. You mean I kept quiet about saving a mafia boss's life? We prefer businessman, but yes. Nonna made a small sound, half sob, half prayer. The restaurant is legitimate, Marco continued, his voice dropping. Award-winning chef, real customers, actual fine dining. But Mr. Valentino uses it for certain business meetings. You'd manage both sides, the legal and illegal sides. We prefer to think of it as traditional and private operations. Elena looked at the envelope, at Nonna's stricken face, at the eviction notice stuck to their refrigerator with a magnet shaped like the Italian flag. I need to think about it. Marco stood, smoothing his suit. You have until tomorrow evening. Mr. Valentino will come personally for your answer. He's coming here? 7 p.m. He wants to thank you himself. Marco's smile was almost fatherly. Wear something nice. After he left, the apartment felt smaller, suffocating. Don't do it, Elena. Nonna's voice was barely audible over Puccini's soprano. We need the money. We'll be on the street by Friday. Money covered in blood is cursed. The man in the alley, Dante, he seemed not evil. Elena heard how desperate she sounded. Just hurt. Nonna's sad smile held decades of knowledge Elena didn't want. The most dangerous ones never seem evil, Cara. That's how they survive. The library was closing in an hour. Elena sat at a public computer, the blue light harsh against her tired eyes, and searched. Dante Valentino, New York. The results flooded the screen. Alleged crime boss walks free again. Valentino acquitted in RICO case. The untouchable Don. How Dante Valentino built an empire. Photos of him at charity galas, black tie events, cutting ribbons at community centers. Always in impeccable suits. Always with those ice blue eyes that seemed to see through the camera into something deeper. One article caught her attention. Bella Notte, mobfront or genuine culinary gem? She clicked. The review was glowing. Best Sicilian cuisine outside of Palermo itself, authentic recipes passed down through generations. The menu made her mouth water. Some of the dishes looked like Nonna's Sunday dinners. Staff photos showed diverse faces, professional smiles. The head chef had trained in Naples. The sommelier had won awards. This wasn't some seedy front. This was real. Manager salary? $75,000. Housing allowance? $2,000 monthly. Elena did the math she'd been doing her whole life. Rent paid, Nonna's insulin, groceries, maybe even savings, maybe even a future. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello? Miss Russo. His voice was exactly as she remembered from the alley, accented, smooth, commanding even in pain. I'm told Marco delivered my message. How did you get this number? I make it my business to know things. A pause. How's your job search going? Anger flared hot in her chest. Did you have me fired? No. Something in his voice, truth, maybe, or a very good lie. But I know who did. The library felt very quiet, very cold. What does that mean? Your former manager has interesting connections. All will be explained tomorrow night. His tone shifted, became almost gentle. I'm a patient man, Elena, but not infinitely so. 7 p.m. He hung up before she could respond. Elena returned home as the sun set, painting Little Italy in shades of gold and blood. The envelope sat on the kitchen table where Marco had left it, impossible to ignore. Her hands shook as she opened it. Stacks of $100 bills, crisp and new. She counted twice. Exactly $50,000. A handwritten note tucked between the stacks. For saving my life. The job is separate. Choose freely. DV. She sat in the dim kitchen, money spread before her like evidence. Like possibility. Like damnation. Nonna appeared in the doorway, backlit by the hallway light, looking older than Elena had ever seen her. What will you do? I don't know yet. Elena's voice was steady despite everything. But I'm going to hear him out. Outside, the black sedan returned, parking across the street. Marco sat inside, cigarette glowing in the darkness. Her unofficial protector, her unofficial jailer. Elena gathered the money, returned it to the envelope, and placed it in her dresser drawer beneath her mother's rosary and her grandfather's pocket watch. She didn't know it yet. But the moment she'd knelt in that alley, the moment her blood had mixed with his on the pavement, she'd already made her choice. She already belonged to Dante Valentino's world. Tomorrow night would just make it official. Elena stood before the bathroom mirror at 6:30 p.m., smoothing down her only nice dress. Simple black, knee-length, 3 years old. Purchased for a cousin's funeral and worn to every interview since. The fabric had thinned at the elbows, but in the dim light of their apartment, it would pass. Sit. Nonna appeared behind her, brush in hand. Elena obeyed, settling onto the closed toilet seat while Nonna's weathered fingers worked through her dark hair. The familiar rhythm, section, twist, braid, was the same as when Elena was 6 years old, getting ready for First Communion. You look like your mother, Nonna murmured, securing the braid with an elastic. Is that good or bad? Good. She was strong. Nonna's hands rested on Elena's shoulders, their eyes meeting in the mirror. You'll need that tonight. At exactly 7:00 p.m., the knock came. Elena opened the door and her breath caught. This wasn't Marco. Dante Valentino filled the doorway, his presence transforming their shabby hallway into something else entirely. The arm was in a sling. She noted with clinical satisfaction that he'd followed medical orders. But otherwise he was impeccable. Charcoal suit that probably cost more than her yearly rent, white shirt open at the collar, leather shoes so pristine she couldn't believe they'd been covered in blood 36 hours ago. Up close, in better light than the alley had provided, he was more handsome than she'd remembered. Sharp jawline, those ice-blue eyes that seemed to catalog everything in a single glance. A small scar cut through his left eyebrow. And there, visible now with his collar open, an ornate tattoo on his neck. A crown with 3 stars. He moved like a predator despite the injury, controlled, dangerous. Miss Russo. Mr. Valentino. Dante Valentino. Nonna appeared behind Elena, her voice sharp. You have your father's eyes. He inclined his head respectfully. Mrs. Russo, your husband was a good man. He was, and he got out before it destroyed him. I remember. His gaze never left Nonna's. That's why your granddaughter can trust my offer. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. I'd like to speak with Elena. He looked at her now, those blue eyes intense. Privately. Anything you say to her, you can say in front of me. Nonna crossed her arms. I respect that. His slight smile was almost warm. But what I have to discuss involves people who wouldn't appreciate witnesses. Elena made her decision before fear could stop her. It's okay, Nonna. We'll talk in the hallway. Nonna's mouth tightened, but she stepped back, leaving the door cracked behind them. The hallway felt smaller with Dante in it. Sounds filtered through thin walls. Someone's television, a baby crying 2 floors up, the DeLucas arguing about dinner. Normal life, happening around them while they discussed things that were anything but. Dante leaned against the wall, casual but somehow still commanding. You didn't take the money. I counted it, I put it back. Why? Because I don't know what it would cost me. He studied her, something like approval flickering across his face. Honest, I like that. Why are you really here? The man who shot me was named Luca Castellano, part of a rival family. Elena's pulse quickened. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know what you walked into. He straightened, winced slightly. There's a territory war happening. Old grudges, new ambitions. Castellano is trying to take over my operations. The hallway seemed to tilt. This was real. This was actually happening. Your manager, Dante continued, his voice dropping. Frank Delaney. He's on Castellano's payroll. What? The word came out too loud. Elena lowered her voice. That's why he fired me? You were ordered to be terminated. They wanted you vulnerable. Why would they care about me? Because I care about you. Her heart hammered against her ribs. You don't even know me. I know you stopped to help a dying stranger. I know you sacrificed your job. I know you live in this building with your grandmother and can barely make rent. I know you eat 1 meal a day so she can have 2. He pushed off the wall, closing the distance between them. I know everything about you, Elena. She swallowed hard. That's creepy. His laugh was unexpected, genuine. Fair, but necessary in my world. I'm not part of your world. You became part of it the moment you touched my blood. His expression sobered. The Castellanos think you matter to me. Understanding dawned, cold and terrible. Do I? Long pause. Those blue eyes burned into hers. More than you should. Elena's breath shuddered out. The job offer. Bella notte. It's real? Everything I told Marco to offer you is real. The salary, the benefits, the apartment allowance. And the illegal part? I won't lie to you. The restaurant facilitates certain meetings, handles certain transactions. Money laundering, among other things. If I say no, his expression darkened, something dangerous flickering behind his eyes. The Castellanos still think you're important to me. They'll come for you anyway. Anger flared hot in Elena's chest. So I have no choice. Help you or be a target. You have a choice, his voice gentled. You can leave New York. I'll arrange new identities for you and your grandmother, set you up somewhere safe, California maybe, or Canada. Leave everything? Everyone I know? Or step into my protection and earn more money than you've ever imagined? Some choice. Dante straightened fully, and this time his wince was more pronounced. The shoulder was hurting him. Elena's instinct kicked in before thought could stop it. You should be resting. I needed to see you. Why? Because in that alley, when I was certain I'd die, you knelt in my blood and told me I'd be fine. You fought to save a stranger. He paused, something vulnerable crossing his face. That kind of person is rare in my world. Elena's anger wavered. I need more time. You have until Friday. That's when the Castellanos make their move. How do you know? I have people inside their organization. They're planning to kidnap you Friday night. Use you as leverage against me. Ice flooded her veins. Jesus. Marco will be outside your building tonight and tomorrow. He'll escort you anywhere you need to go. I can't live like this. You can. You will. His voice hardened. Because the alternative is dying like this. He pulled a phone from his pocket. Sleek, expensive, probably untraceable. My direct number. Any trouble, any fear you call, I'll come. Why do you care so much? His hand rose, and for a moment she thought he might touch her. His fingers brushed her cheek, surprisingly gentle for a man who'd built an empire on violence. Because I've been searching for something real in a world of lies. And when I saw your eyes in that alley, I found it. He left before she could respond, his footsteps echoing down the stairs. Elena stood frozen in the hallway, the phone burning in her palm like evidence. Like possibility. Like damnation. When she returned to the apartment, Nonna was waiting by the window. Well? He says people are going to try to kidnap me. Elena's voice sounded strange to her own ears. Distant. Nonna's face crumpled. Then we run. Or I accept his protection. Elena, I'm tired of running, Nonna, from bills, from life, from everything. She looked at her grandmother, at the woman who'd raised her, who'd sacrificed everything. Maybe it's time to stop. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She stood at her window, looking down at the street. Marco's car sat below, cigarette glowing in the darkness like a firefly. Across the street, another black car, 2 men inside, watching, waiting. The phone Dante had given her buzzed against her nightstand. She grabbed it, her heart racing. Unknown number. A text. We know where you live, Elena. The Italian can't protect you forever. Elsie Luca Castellano. Elena's hands shook as she saved Dante's number, her thumb hovering over the call button. But she didn't press it. Not yet. She needed to be sure. Outside, the 2 cars faced each other across the narrow street like gunslingers at dawn. Protecting and threatening. 2 sides of the same coin. Elena Russo stood between them, and for the first time in her life, she understood what it meant to have power, even if that power came wrapped in blood and impossible choices. Thursday morning arrived without mercy. Elena stood at her bedroom window at 8:30 a.m., dark circles under her eyes like bruises, watching Marco's car idle below. The Castellano vehicle was gone, but somehow that felt worse. Like a predator circling just beyond the light. She made Nonna breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast, coffee strong enough to strip paint, and pretended everything was fine. Her hands only shook a little as she set down the plates. Nonna wasn't fooled. You have to decide today. I know. Elena. I know, Nonna. I know. By 9 o'clock, they'd run out of Nonna's insulin. Elena grabbed her coat, the weight of Dante's phone heavy in her pocket. Marco was at her door before she reached the stairs. I'm going 3 blocks, Elena said. I'll be fine. Mr. Valentino would remove parts of me I'm fond of if something happened to you. His expression was dead serious, but something in his eyes almost smiled. Despite everything, the fear, the exhaustion, the impossible situation, she laughed. Fine, but you're buying coffee after. They walked together through Little Italy's morning bustle. Marco's eyes never stopped moving, cataloging every face, every car, every shadow that moved wrong. "You've been doing this a long time," Elena observed. "Since I was 19. He held the pharmacy door open for her. "Dante saved my life twice. Once from the Castellanos, once from myself." "What does that mean?" They joined the line at the pharmacy counter, Marco positioning himself so he could watch both the door and Elena simultaneously. "I was heading down a bad path. Drugs, stupid choices. He gave me purpose. Purpose of doing crime? Purpose of protecting family." Marco's voice softened. "That's what we are, Elena. Family." The word hung between them, weighted with meaning she was only beginning to understand. Elena gave her name to the pharmacist and settled in to wait. The pharmacy smelled like antiseptic and desperation, fluorescent lights humming overhead. An elderly woman argued about co-pays, a mother bounced a fussy toddler. Then the bell above the door chimed. Marco went rigid. 2 men entered, leather jackets despite the warm morning, tattoos visible on their necks, the same angular design she'd glimpsed on the men in the car last night. They scanned the pharmacy with the casual efficiency of people who hurt others for a living. One locked eyes with Elena, smiled. "Stay close to me," Marco murmured, his hand moving inside his jacket. The man approached, his companion blocking the door. "You're Elena Russo? Who's asking?" Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "Friend of your old boss. Frank says hello." His smile was all teeth, no warmth. "Says you're working for new management now. Interesting choice." Marco stepped between them, his body a wall. "Walk away. Or what?" The man leaned around Marco, still looking at Elena. "You gonna shoot us in a pharmacy? In front of all these nice people?" "Test me." The standoff crystallized, sharp and dangerous. Other customers backed away. The pharmacist reached for the phone, fingers hovering over 911. Elena's mind raced. A shootout here would mean police, questions, charges. Marco would go to jail. She'd be exposed, vulnerable. Exactly what the Castellanos wanted. "Is my prescription ready?" She called out to the pharmacist, voice cutting through the tension. The woman blinked. Yes, just finishing now." Elena grabbed Marco's arm. "Come on, Nonna's waiting." "Elena, now, Marco." He let her pull him toward the counter, his body still coiled tight, never taking his eyes off the 2 men. Elena paid with shaking hands, took the insulin and steered Marco toward the door. As they passed, one of the Castellanos called out, voice cheerful and horrible, "See you soon, Elena. Real soon." Outside, Marco was furious. "You should have let me handle it." "By starting a shootout? That's handling it? They were threatening you. And now they're not. Come on." She walked fast, needing distance, needing air that didn't taste like violence. But the Castellanos' words echoed in her skull. "See you soon. Real soon." Back at the apartment, Elena's hands wouldn't stop shaking. She set the insulin on the counter and gripped the edge of the sink, knuckles white. "This is my life now?" The words came out raw. "Always looking over my shoulder?" Nonna held her, the way she had when Elena was small and afraid of thunderstorms. "No, Cara. You make a choice. Either accept Dante's protection fully, or we run." "You'd really leave? This apartment, your friends, everything?" "For you, I'd leave the world." The simple truth of it broke something in Elena's chest. All her life, Nonna had sacrificed. And now Elena was about to ask her to sacrifice again because she was too stubborn or too stupid or too desperate to know which choice was right. She picked up Dante's phone with trembling fingers. He answered before the first ring finished. "Elena." "They approached me, at the pharmacy, 2 of them." The words tumbled out. "Marco was with me, but they knew my name. They said, 'Are you hurt?'" His voice was ice and fire. "No, Marco was, 'I'm coming to you, now!'" The line went dead. 20 minutes later, 3 black cars pulled up outside. Men in dark suits fanned out around the building, efficient and threatening. Neighbors peered from windows. Dante stormed into the apartment and went straight to Elena, his hands framing her face, tilting it up so he could search her eyes. "Did they touch you?" "No, they just threatened me." His anger was cold, controlled, more frightening than rage. "Names? What did they look like?" Marco described them in clinical detail: height, weight, tattoos, the way they moved. Dante pulled out his phone and made a call in rapid Italian, his voice deadly quiet. Elena caught words she recognized from Nonna: idioti, morto, finito. When he hung up, he turned to Elena. "This ends today. I'm moving you to a safe house." "What about Nonna?" "Both of you. Pack essentials. You're coming to my home." "Your home?" "Penthouse in Tribeca. 24-hour security. They can't touch you there." Elena's pride bristled. "I'm not some damsel you can lock up." "You think I want to lock you up?" His voice rose for the first time. "I want to keep you alive. By controlling where I go, who I see. By making sure the Castellanos don't put a bullet in your head." He ran his hand through his hair, the careful composure cracking. His hand trembled, not from the injury but from fury barely contained. "You don't understand what these people do, Elena." "What they'd do to you? Then explain it to me. Stop treating me like a child." The apartment went silent except for Puccini still playing on Nonna's radio, some tragic aria about love and death. Dante sat heavily on their worn couch, suddenly exhausted. When he spoke again, his voice was different, hollow. 3 years ago, the Castellanos took my younger sister, Isabella. She was 24, innocent, had nothing to do with the family business. Elena's stomach dropped. "What happened?" "They used her as leverage, wanted me to give up territory, operations, money." His eyes were distant, seeing something Elena hoped she'd never have to see. "I gave them everything they asked for. They killed her anyway." The silence stretched, unbearable. "I found her body in a warehouse in Queens." His voice cracked. "They'd tortured her." Elena sat beside him, understanding now why he'd looked at her in the alley with such desperate recognition. Another person to lose, another person to fail. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I swore that day I'd never let them take anyone from me again." He looked at her finally, those blue eyes raw. "And then you show up. This stubborn waitress who saves my life and refuses my money, and all I can think is, I can't watch them hurt another person He stopped himself. "Another person you what?" "Another person I care about." Elena's heart hammered. "I'll take the job at Bellanotte." His eyes snapped to hers. "You're sure?" "No, but I'm sure that running won't solve anything. I'm sure that my Nonna deserves better than this." She took a breath. "I'm sure that you're not the villain everyone says you are." "I'm not a hero either, Elena." "I don't need a hero. I need a job and protection. You're offering both." "And if I ask for more than that?" His voice dropped, intimate despite Marco and Nonna in the next room. Her breath caught. "What more?" "Your trust, eventually, when you're ready." "Okay." "Okay?" "We move tonight. I start Monday." His smile was brief but genuine. "The sooner you're officially under my protection, the sooner the Castellanos back off." "They'll really stop?" "Once you're mine, touching you means war." His eyes held hers. "They're not ready for that. Yet." That evening, Elena and Nonna packed their lives into suitcases. Neighbors whispered as men in suits carried boxes down the stairs. Mr. Petrov, the old Russian from 3B, pressed a crumpled 20 into Elena's hand. "You're making deal with devil, Dorogaya," he whispered. Elena squeezed his weathered hand. "Maybe. But maybe the devil's not so bad." 3 black cars escorted them to Tribeca. As they drove through the city, Elena looked back at her old building, at the life she was leaving behind. Everything was changing. She was terrified. But also, for the first time in years, she felt something else blooming in her chest, fragile and unexpected. Hope. Elena woke Friday morning to sunlight flooding through floor-to-ceiling windows, Manhattan spreading beneath her like a kingdom. Her room was bigger than her entire old apartment. California king bed with sheets that felt like silk, an ensuite bathroom with a tub she could swim in, a walk-in closet that echoed when she opened it. She found Nonna in Dante's kitchen, already elbow-deep in flour and espresso. "Even billionaire mafia bosses need a proper breakfast," Nonna declared, rolling dough for biscotti with the efficiency of decades. "He's too skinny." Elena explored while Nonna cooked. The penthouse was Art Deco elegance wrapped in modern security. Cameras discreetly placed in every corner, reinforced doors, panic buttons disguised as light switches. Staff moved through the space like ghosts, a chef, housekeepers, security personnel who nodded respectfully as she passed. Marco found her studying a camera. "Everyone here has been with the family for years. You're safe." Dante sat at the dining table, reading the paper despite the sling still cradling his arm. Dark slacks, white shirt unbuttoned at the collar, casual in a way that somehow made him more dangerous, not less. "Sleep well?" Those blue eyes tracked her movement across the room. "Better than I have in months." Nonna appeared with espresso and warm biscotti, setting them before Dante with a grandmother's authority. "A man needs proper food. You're too skinny." Elena couldn't help it. She laughed. The most dangerous man in New York, being scolded about his eating habits. His smile was brief but genuine. "Thank you, Mrs. Russo." After breakfast, Dante walked Elena through the restaurant details. Bella Notte opened at 5 for dinner service. She'd shadow the current manager, a man named Carmine who was retiring to Florida, starting Monday. 75,000 salary, health benefits for you and your grandmother, plus housing allowance, he said, professional despite the domestic intimacy of the moment. "I'm already living here. This is temporary. Until the threat's over, I'll help you find an apartment." Something in his tone suggested he didn't want her to leave. As he explained the business, reservations, suppliers, the delicate balance of legitimate operations and private meetings, Elena noticed details. The way he gestured when passionate about something, how he unconsciously switched to Italian when frustrated, the rare smile when Nonna brought more food. She caught herself staring at his hands. He caught her staring. "Something wrong?" "No, Thank you. For all this." His intensity was sudden, complete. "Don't thank me yet." At 2 p.m., Dante's phone rang. His expression darkened as he answered, stepping away. But Elena overheard. "Are you certain? When?" He returned, face grim. "The Castellanos are moving tonight. My source says they're hitting a location they think you'll be." "But I'm here." "They don't know that yet." He leaned against the counter, calculating. "We're going to use that." The plan was simple, brutal. Leak false information that Elena was at her old apartment. Let the Castellanos attack. Dante's men would be waiting. "You want them to attack an empty apartment?" Elena asked. "I want to end this." Marco nodded agreement. "It's the smart play. Draw them out." Elena's heart hammered. What if I was actually there? Everyone stopped. "Absolutely not," Dante said immediately. "Hear me out. If I'm there, they'd really commit. Your men could catch them in the act. And if something goes wrong? Then I trust you to keep me safe." The argument that followed was fierce. Dante refused, his control slipping with every word. "I won't use you as bait. You're already using me. At least this way. I'm part of it. Elena, I'm tired of hiding. Tired of being protected like I'm helpless. Let me do this." Marco's voice was quiet. "She has a point. They'd commit harder if she's actually there." Finally, after what felt like hours, Dante agreed. "You stay in the apartment, doors locked. Marco and 6 men inside with you. You wear a wire. I'll hear everything." His eyes burned into hers. "I don't like this." "I know, but it's the right move." At 6 p.m., they prepared. The wire was tiny, professional, the earpiece nearly invisible. Marco's team positioned throughout the apartment, armed and silent. Nonna was kept at the penthouse, deliberately unaware. Dante's voice in Elena's ear. "I'm 3 blocks away with another team. Anything happens, we're there in 60 seconds. Okay. Talk to me. I need to know you're okay. I'm scared, she admitted. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. A pause. Marco, check in. All clear, Marco replied from the kitchen. No movement on the street. 7 o'clock p.m. became 7:30. Then 7:43. The door exploded inward. Get down, Marco shouted. Elena dropped behind the couch as gunfire erupted. Dante's voice, frantic. Elena! Elena! I'm okay! They're in the apartment! Chaos. Flashbangs. Smoke thick enough to choke on. She crawled toward the bedroom like Marco had instructed. Hands grabbed her from behind, yanking her backward. She tried to scream, but a palm clamped over her mouth. Marco, report! Where is she? Dante's voice in her ear, desperate. They dragged her through smoke to the back window, down a fire escape they'd prepared. 3 floors of rusted metal. She fought, kicked, bit, clawed, until one man backhanded her hard enough to make her vision swim. Stop or we hurt the grandmother. She froze. They shoved her into a waiting van. Someone ripped out her earpiece and crushed it under their boot. Inside the van, hands zip-tied behind her back, a bag pulled over her head. She couldn't see, could barely breathe. Voices in Italian surrounded her, then one in English. Familiar. Told you she'd be easy. Valentino's going soft over some waitress. Frank Delaney, her former manager. Another voice, cold and smooth. Not soft, obsessed, which makes her perfect leverage. Luca Castellano. The van drove for what felt like hours but was probably 20 minutes. Elena's mind raced. How did they know about the trap? Someone leaked the real plan. There was a traitor in Dante's organization. She needed to survive long enough to warn him. The van stopped. She was dragged out, the bag removed. An abandoned warehouse in Red Hook, shipping containers, broken windows, the smell of oil and harbor water. Luca Castellano stood before her. Mid-40s, graying temples, expensive suit that probably cost more than her old car. Miss Russo, we finally meet properly. He circled her like a predator. You cost me a lot of money, you know. The morning you saved Dante, I paid good money for those bullets. I don't know what you're talking about. But perhaps you've given me something better, a way into his heart. He doesn't care about me, I just work for him. Luca's laugh was genuine. Bella, he moved you into his home. No employee gets that privilege. He held up a phone. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call Dante. Tell him if he wants you back, he gives me the Port Authority contracts, the construction unions, and 10 million cash. He'll never... Luca nodded to Frank, who pulled out a knife. He grabbed Elena's hand and sliced her palm, shallow but agonizing. She screamed. Luca dialed, put the phone on speaker. Dante answered immediately. Where is she? Safe, for now. Want to hear her voice? Don't, Elena started. Elena, are you hurt? Dante's voice cracked. My hand, but I'm... Luca pulled the phone away. You hurt her. She's alive. Want to keep her that way? Dante's voice went deadly calm. If you harm one more hair on her head, Luca, I will erase your entire bloodline. Big talk for a man with no leverage. You think you have leverage? I have your daughter. Silence. Luca's face drained of color. You're bluffing. Sophia, 16, at boarding school in Connecticut. My men picked her up an hour ago. You wouldn't dare. She's a child. And Elena is innocent, but you cut her anyway. Dante's voice never rose, which made it more terrifying. You taught me this game, Luca. Don't cry when I play better. Elena's shock was physical. Dante kidnapped a teenager? Here's my offer, Dante continued. You release Elena unharmed. I release Sophia unharmed. We go back to our territories, and this ends. And if I refuse? Then tomorrow you bury your daughter, and the day after, your wife, and your sons, and your lieutenants. I will burn your family tree to ash. Luca weighed his options, his crew watching. Finally, where's the trade? Pier 47, 1 hour. You bring Elena. I bring Sophia. 5 men each. I want Marco as hostage too, Proof you're serious. A pause. Done. 1 hour, Luca. Don't be late. The bag went back over Elena's head. Thrown into the van, she heard Luca's crew arguing. Frank. This is a trap. Valentino's planning something. Luca. Of course he is. So am I. Another voice. What about the girl after the trade? Luca's voice dropped. She never makes it to Valentino. Elena's blood went cold. They were going to kill her during the exchange. Her hands worked frantically behind her back, finding a sharp piece of broken metal on the van floor. Carefully, silently, she sawed at the zip tie. The van stopped. Wind from the harbor, salt water smell. Elena was pulled out onto an abandoned pier, fog rolling in thick. Lights from 3 cars illuminated the space like a stage. Dante stood center, 5 men behind him, and Marco, kneeling, hands tied. When Dante saw Elena, his composure cracked. Elena? On Dante's side, Sofia Castellano, a teenage girl, terrified and crying. At the same time, Dante ordered, voice steady again. Both started walking. Elena's eyes locked with Dante's across the fog. She saw it, real fear in his eyes, maybe for the first time. Halfway across, Frank suddenly grabbed Elena from behind, gun to her temple. Sorry, boss, he shouted to Luca. Valentino needs to learn respect. He pulled the trigger. Click. The gun jammed. Elena moved, broke her partially cut zip tie, slammed her elbow into Frank's throat, dropped, and rolled. Both sides opened fire. Sofia screamed. One of Dante's men shielded her. Dante ran toward Elena, returning fire. Marco broke his bonds, they'd been fake, and produced a hidden gun. The pier exploded into chaos. Dante reached Elena, pulled her behind a shipping container, his hands on her face, frantic. Are you shot? Are you hurt? I'm fine, He kissed her. Desperate, fierce, claiming, pulled back. Don't ever do that again. Which part? All of it. More gunfire. They ducked. Marco flanked Luca's position. Luca tried to use Frank as a shield, but Frank, coward to the end, ran. Marco's shot was clean, professional, fatal. Luca dropped. His remaining crew surrendered. Police sirens in the distance. Dante had maybe 10 minutes before even corrupted cops had to respond. Elena's hands shook, adrenaline crashing. Dante held her. It's over. You're safe. Sofia was reunited with her crew, unharmed. Dante had never planned to hurt her. In Dante's car, Elena sat between him and Marco, processing everything. You really would have killed his family? She asked. No, but he believed I would. That's what matters. You kidnapped a child. Who was kept comfortable, fed, and allowed to video chat her mother. I'm not a monster, Elena. Then what are you? A man trying to protect what's his. At the penthouse, Nonna was waiting. She saw Elena's blood and immediately fussed. Dante's personal doctor stitched Elena's palm while she watched Dante pace, still wired, dangerous. This was her life now, violence and protection, fear and safety, darkness and something else. When he finally sat beside her, he took her bandaged hand carefully. I'm sorry. This is what my world looks like. She didn't pull away. I know. I'm still here. His eyes searched hers. Why? Because when you ran toward me through gunfire, I realized something. What? I'm falling in love with a man who terrifies me. Long silence. Then, good. Because I fell in love with you the moment you told me I'd be fine when we both knew I was dying. Elena woke Saturday morning in Dante's bed, his uninjured arm draped across her waist. They'd fallen asleep talking, nothing more, but the intimacy of it felt more significant than anything physical could have been. She watched him sleep. His face was peaceful, younger without the hard edge he wore like armor. Scars marked his shoulder from the shooting she'd interrupted. Her bandaged palm throbbed, a reminder of everything that had happened. He woke and immediately checked her. How's your hand? Hurts. How's your conscience? A small smile. You're the only one who asks me that. They lay in comfortable silence until Elena finally asked, What happens now? Dante sat up, ran a hand through his hair. Now you decide if you can live in my world. I thought I already decided. Last night was survival. Today is choice. He looked at her. Something vulnerable in his eyes. You could still leave. I'd set you up anywhere. New identity, money to start over. Elena got up and walked to the window. Manhattan spread below, the city waking up to another ordinary day. A week ago, I was a diner waitress worried about rent. And now you're in a mafia boss's penthouse after surviving a kidnapping. She laughed, slightly hysterical. When you say it like that, she turned to him. I should run. Any sane person would run. But I keep thinking about that alley. You were dying, and your first thought was protecting me. I didn't know you then. Exactly. You protected a stranger. You gave me enough money to solve my problems without asking anything. She crossed back to him. You're not the monster you pretend to be. Dante stood, closed the distance between them. I've done terrible things, Elena, things that would make you sick. Tell me. What? Tell me the worst thing you've done. If I'm choosing this life, I deserve to know. Long pause. He looked away. 3 years ago, after Isabella died, I found the man who killed her. What did you do? I kept him alive for 5 days, made him feel every moment of pain he caused her. Elena's stomach turned, but she didn't look away. Did it help? Did it bring her back? No, it just made me more of what my father was. She took his hand. I'm not going to pretend that's okay. It's not. I know. But I understand why. And I think you understand it was wrong. His eyes met hers. Does that matter? It's the only thing that matters. Can you love someone like me? He asked quietly. I already told you I'm falling in love with you. That was fear and adrenaline talking. No, that was truth. This is the scary part. I meant it. She squeezed his hand. But if I stay, we do this my way too. What does that mean? No more secrets. You tell me about the business. All of it. I'm not naive, but I won't be kept in the dark like some mafia wife in a movie. Dante considered. What else? No drugs. I know that's not your business, but I need to hear you say it. We don't touch drugs, never have. And no human trafficking. Christ, no. What do you think I am? I think you're a criminal, but I think you have lines you won't cross. My turn, he said. If you stay, you follow security protocols. No arguments. Reasonable? You start at Bellanotte Monday. Learn the business. Legitimate and otherwise. Okay. And when I say it's too dangerous for something, you trust me. That's asking a lot. So is loving me. He pulled her close. This kiss was different from the pier, slower, deeper, certain. When they broke apart, she whispered, Is that a yes? It's a yes to trying, to seeing if this can work. I'll take it. That afternoon, Dante took Elena to Bellanotte. The restaurant was closed, but his inner circle was there. Marco, plus 4 others, Tony, Sal, Giuseppe, and young Nico. Gentlemen, this is Elena Russo. She'll be managing Bellanotte, and she's under my personal protection. The weight of that statement settled over the room. She was officially his. Tony, old school and in his 60s, studied her. Russo? Carlo Russo's granddaughter? You knew my grandfather? Good man, honest. If you're half as sharp as he was, we're in good hands. Sal was skeptical. Boss, you sure about this? She's civilian. Dante's voice dropped. She saved my life. She's earned her place. They walked her through Bellanotte's operations. The front was legitimate, award-winning restaurant, real customers, actual culinary excellence. The back held private dining rooms where business happened. We don't do deals in the open, Marco explained. Restaurant provides cover, neutral ground. Elena took notes, asked smart questions. Giuseppe seemed impressed. She catches on quick. In Dante's office, he showed her the real books. 2 sets, legal and traditional. Money flowing through, laundered via restaurant receipts. Elena stared at the numbers. This is wire fraud, tax evasion, racketeering. Yes. And I'd be part of it. As manager, You'd oversee both sides. He watched her carefully. How much money are we talking? This restaurant alone? About 2 million monthly. Elena sat heavily. This is real. This is my life. Now it's yours too if you want it. She looked at him. I don't want it, but I want you. Is that enough? It has to be. That evening, Elena sat with Nonna in the penthouse kitchen. You're staying with him, Nonna said. Not a question. How did you know? I see how you look at each other, like your nonno and I looked. Nonno wasn't a criminal. No, but he loved one once, before he met me. Nonna's eyes were distant. Your nonno worked for old Salvatore Valentino, Dante's grandfather. Elena stared. You never told me. Because he left that life. For me, for your mother. Nonna took Elena's unbandaged hand. Elena, if you love this man, I love him completely. No half measures. That life demands everything. That night, Elena found Dante in his study. I'm staying. He looked up. You're sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. She crossed to him. I start Monday at Bella Notte. I learn everything, and we see if love is enough to survive your world. He stood, held her face in his hands. I will protect you with my life. I know. I will probably fail you sometimes. I know that too. But I will never lie to you, and I will never stop trying to be worthy of what you're giving up for me. I'm not giving up anything. I'm choosing something. There's a difference. They stood together, city lights behind them. Elena Russo, former diner waitress, now partner to the most dangerous man in New York. She was terrified. She was in love. She was committed. And Monday, she would become part of a world she could never leave. But as Dante held her, she realized something. She didn't want to leave. For the first time in her life, she'd chosen something for herself. Even if that something was dangerous, even if that something was wrong, it was hers. He was hers. And that was enough. Monday morning, 10 o'clock a.m. Dante dropped Elena off personally in a black town car that probably cost more than her college education. Nervous? Terrified. He kissed her temple. You'll be perfect. Marco's inside. She watched him drive away, her new reality sinking in with each breath. Bella Notte in daylight was sophisticated elegance, dark wood, white tablecloths, Italian marble that probably came from the same quarry as the Vatican. Staff prepared for lunch service, moving with practiced efficiency. Marco stood at the entrance. Everyone, this is Elena Russo, your new manager. 20 faces turned to stare. Some welcoming, some skeptical, some scared. The head chef stepped forward. Antonio, 50s from Naples, weathered hands that had made thousands of meals. Russo? Any relation to Carlo? My grandfather. His face lit up like Christmas. A good man! Okay, I teach everything. In the kitchen, Antonio showed her his domain. Front of house you manage. Back here is mine, but you should know what we serve. He walked her through the menu. Authentic Sicilian. No shortcuts. Recipes passed down through generations. Your Dante, he is particular. Only the best. He's not my Dante. Antonio's knowing smile could have melted butter. Certo, certo. And I'm not Italian. Maria, the hostess, taught her the reservation system. The private dining rooms had innocuous names: Roma, Napoli, Sicilia. Sicilia room is for special guests only, Maria warned. How special? Maria just looked at her. The kind who don't exist in our reservation book. At 2:00 p.m., with the restaurant closed between services, 3 men arrived. Expensive suits, no reservations, straight to Sicilia room. Marco nodded to Elena. Observe only, don't speak unless spoken to. Inside, the room had no windows, soundproofing, sweeping equipment on the walls for bugs. The men were union representatives discussing Port Authority contracts, fallout from the Castellano situation, money in briefcases, percentages negotiated, territories divided. Dante presided with calm, absolute authority. Gentlemen, we all profit when we cooperate. Try to cheat me and we all suffer. Understood? They understood. Afterward, Dante sat with Elena in the empty room. What did you see? Bribery, corruption, possibly extortion. All of the above. What else? She thought. Everyone walked away happy. Exactly. Violence is inefficient. Money makes a better motivator. Dinner service began at 5. Bella Notte filled with real customers, couples, families, business dinners. Elena worked the floor and discovered something. She was good at this. A child spilled pasta. She handled it gracefully. A proposal at table 12. She coordinated with Antonio for a special dessert. Dante was there at 7 for a business dinner, though the real reason was watching her. She caught him smiling as she handled a difficult customer. What? She asked, passing his table. You're a natural. Don't sound so surprised. I'm not. I knew you would be. At 8:30, a crisis. Double booking in Cecilia room. One legitimate party, anniversary couple, and one business meeting. Both immovable. Elena made the call. Moved the couple to the best table in the main dining room. Complimentary champagne and dessert upgrade. They were delighted. The business meeting proceeded uninterrupted. Marco approved. Quick thinking. By 11, when the restaurant finally closed, Elena was exhausted but exhilarated. Antonio patted her shoulder. You did good tonight, Piccola. Your nonno would be proud. In Dante's office upstairs, he showed her the tip pool. Staff earned 23% more than usual Monday. Turns out good management increases profits. She collapsed in a chair. I'm exhausted. He massaged her shoulders. It gets easier. Do I want it to? The week passed in a blur. Tuesday, learning how legitimate and illegal cash flows mixed. Wednesday, her first lie to a health inspector. Everything was actually clean, but she learned how they were paid off anyway. Thursday, when a business associate crossed a line with her, Dante handled it. The man never returned. Friday, she successfully managed 3 business meetings and a Valentine's Day rush. She was becoming part of this world. Saturday evening, 1 week complete. Elena was in the manager's office reconciling books when someone knocked. A woman in her 40s stood there, elegant, with sad eyes that had seen too much. Are you Elena Russo? Yes. I'm Francesca Valentino, Dante's mother. We should talk. Elena invited her to sit, shock rendering her temporarily stupid. Francesca studied her. You're younger than I expected. I'm 28. My son is 37. When did you meet? 2 weeks ago. I found him bleeding in an alley. Francesca's sad smile held decades of resignation. Of course you did. That's very Dante. She leaned forward. I came to warn you. Loving my son will break your heart. He's already told me about the dangers. No, you misunderstand. Not because he's cruel, because his world is. Francesca's eyes were distant. I was like you once. Young, idealistic, in love with a Valentino man, Salvatore. He was magnificent, and it destroyed me watching him destroy others. Why are you telling me this? Because you still have a choice. Once you're in, forever. Elena's voice was quiet. I think I'm already in. Francesca's eyes filled. Then let me tell you how to survive. Never ask questions you don't want answered. Always have cash, passport, a plan to disappear. Love him, but don't lose yourself to him. When the violence comes, and it will, don't let it make you cold. And most important, find something that's yours. Something he can't touch. Dante appeared in the doorway, stopped. Mama, what are you doing here? Meeting the woman you've lost your mind over. The tension was thick enough to cut. Elena, give us a moment? She escaped gratefully. Outside, Marco was waiting. His mother? Yeah, that was terrifying. She likes you. She only warns people she respects. Everyone else she ignores. Through the office door, raised voices in rapid Italian. Francesca saying something about not like your father and this girl deserves better. Dante's response included, not your choice. And I love her. First time Elena had heard him say it to anyone. The door opened. Francesca stopped before Elena. He says he loves you. Do you love him? Yes. Then God help you both. She kissed Elena's cheeks and left. Dante emerged, rubbing his temples. I'm sorry about that. She loves you. She's scared for you. She's scared for you. He pulled Elena close. She asked me if I'd let you go if it meant keeping you safe. What did you say? I said no, that I'm selfish and I need you too much. Elena looked up at him. Is that my future? Waiting for this life to almost kill you? Or me? I don't know. I hope not. That's not very reassuring. I know, but it's the truth. They returned to the restaurant floor. Elena managed the evening while Dante entertained associates. Perfect performance of normal and criminal worlds intersecting. As the night ended, she realized this was her life now. Not a fairy tale, but the messy, complicated, dangerous reality of loving someone the world called a monster, and choosing it anyway. Because when Dante looked at her across the crowded restaurant, she saw home, and that was terrifying and perfect. 3 months had passed since Elena said yes to Dante's world. She woke on a February morning in his penthouse, no longer a guest. Her clothes hung in his closet, her books lined his shelves. Coffee waited on her nightstand beside a note in his sharp handwriting. Meeting ran late, be home by noon, ti amo. D. She smiled at the Italian. I love you still felt foreign sometimes, but she was learning. Nonna had claimed the guest suite as her domain, redecorated with photographs and her own furniture. The kitchen smelled like traditional Italian breakfast. Elena found her there, flour dusting her hands. Buongiorno, Nonna. You're getting better with the Italian. Dante's teaching me, says I need to know the language of his business. Nonna's look said everything. You're in deep now. Bella Notte was thriving. Elena had balanced both sides. Legitimate fine dining and discreet private meetings. The staff respected her, customers loved her, and even the family men trusted her. She'd proven herself. Then her phone rang during lunch service. Miss Russo, this is Detective Chen. We need to talk about testifying. We're building a RICO case against Valentino. Her blood ran cold. I have nothing to say to you. You will, when you realize what you're protecting. Over the next week, the pressure increased. FBI agents appeared at the restaurant asking questions. They approached Nonna at the pharmacy. They showed Elena photos. Dante at crime scenes, associates with criminal records. You're harboring a fugitive from justice, Chen said. He's not a fugitive. You've never charged him. Yet. When Dante found out, he was furious. They're using you to get to me. I know, I won't talk. They'll offer you immunity, witness protection. I don't want it. He stopped, studied her. Why not? You could walk away clean. Because clean isn't the same as whole. Elena stepped closer. I've built a life here. With you, with Nonna, with the restaurant. Walking away would destroy me more than staying ever could. He pulled her close. They'll keep coming. Then we'll keep saying no. A week later, Bella Notte was closed for a private event. Dante's closest associates and their families filled the restaurant. Elena didn't understand why until Dante stood, glass in hand. 3 months ago, a woman saved my life in an alley. I thought she was an angel. Laughter rippled through the room. Turns out she was just stubborn. Elena blushed as he approached her table. Elena Russo, you walked into my darkness and brought light. Will you stay forever? He opened a box, vintage ring, diamond and sapphire, Art Deco style. Will you marry me? The room went silent. Elena's mind raced through everything. FBI threats, dangerous life, violence and love forever intertwined. She looked at Nonna, who nodded subtly. At Marco, who grinned. At Dante, vulnerable before his family. Yes. The room erupted. Later, on the penthouse balcony, the ring caught the city lights. Are you sure? Dante asked quietly. About all of it? This life, me, everything it costs? I'm sure about you. The rest we figure out together. His phone buzzed. They're executing search warrants tomorrow. restaurant, my businesses, possibly here. And my name will be attached to yours. Yes. She considered. Good. Let them know I chose this. They spent the evening preparing with lawyers and accountants. Elena learned more about the scope of Dante's operations. Some shocked her, some she expected. But one thing caught her attention. You fund St. Anthony's Children's Hospital. Isabella had childhood leukemia before the Castellanos killed her. We fund pediatric cancer research anonymously. Elena's throat tightened. You're not just a criminal. I'm not just anything. I'm all of it. Criminal, philanthropist, killer, protector. I know. That's why I love you. You're real, complicated and flawed and trying. She took his hand. You make me want to be better. Then be better, with me. We'll do it together. The next morning the FBI descended. Elena was calm, collected, showing them everything requested, all legitimate, all clean. Detective Chen pulled her aside. Last chance, testify against Valentino. We protect you and your grandmother. From who? The man who's kept us safer than you ever did? From himself, from what he is. Elena met his eyes. I know exactly what he is, and I'm marrying him. Then you're complicit in everything he does. No, I'm responsible for my own choices, and I choose him. By afternoon, photos of the raid hit the news. Mafia boss's fiancé, waitress to mob wife. Her face was everywhere. Old co-workers were interviewed. But that evening, Bella Notte packed with customers, some curious, some supportive. One woman stopped Elena. You're very brave. Or very stupid. Maybe both. Good luck. Dante arrived at 10, exhausted from lawyers' offices. He found Elena managing dinner service like nothing had happened. Pride and love crossed his face. Come with me. He took her to the restaurant's roof. Manhattan sprawled below, lights everywhere. When I was a kid, my father brought me here. This building was abandoned then. He said, someday, Dante, all of this is yours to protect. Heavy burden for a child. I didn't understand then. I do now. He turned to her. I can't give you normal, can't give you safe, can't give you anonymous, but I can give you this. I will spend every day trying to be worthy of what you've sacrificed. I haven't sacrificed anything. I've chosen everything. What happens now? She asked. Now we get married, build a life, try to stay alive and out of prison. She laughed. Romantic. What would you do, if you were me? First time he'd asked her opinion on business. I'd go legitimate, slowly, keep the power, lose the obvious crime. You have political connections, union relationships, real estate. Use them legally. It would take years. Or you'd evolve, show them a new way. The old way got your sister killed. He was silent, processing. I can't change overnight. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to consider it. For our future. For our children. He stilled. Children? Eventually. If we survive that long. His hand moved to her stomach. You're not. No, but someday. And when that day comes, I want them to inherit your intelligence and strength, not your criminal empire. Marco appeared on the roof. Sorry, boss, but we have a problem. Luca's brother, Vincent, is making moves. Dante's jaw tightened. Where? Port Authority, trying to reclaim what Luca lost. Dante looked at Elena. I have to handle this. I know. It might get violent. I know that too. He kissed her hard, desperate. Wait for me. Always. Hours passed. Midnight. 1 a.m., 2 a.m. No word. Nonna prayed the rosary. Elena paced, her ring catching light. At 3:47 a.m., the door opened. Dante stood there, blood on his shirt. Not his. Exhausted. Are you hurt? No. Vincent is. Bad enough he won't challenge us again. She didn't ask details. Just held him while he showered. Blood washing away. In bed he pulled her close. I'm sorry. For this being our life. I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid for you. It's not the same? No. One means I don't trust you. The other means I love you. They woke to news reports of violence at the Port Authority. No names, no charges yet. Dante's lawyers were already working. At noon, his associates gathered at Bellanotte. Elena was present now, officially part of the inner circle. When they discussed Vincent Castellano, Dante looked at her. What do you think? The room went silent. He'd never asked a woman's opinion before. War costs money, lives, attention. We just survived an FBI raid. Elena leaned forward. Take his allies, offer them better terms, isolate him. He'll fall without us touching him. Marco nodded slowly. Less blood, same result. Dante's pride was visible. We'll try it your way. 6 weeks later, Vincent fled to Italy. Isolated, powerless. No war, no bodies, no FBI attention. Elena's strategy had worked, and Dante's respect in the organization grew. By June, they stood in St. Patrick's Cathedral. Elena in ivory lace, Dante in tailored black. Nonna crying, Francesca smiling, Marco trying not to. Father Romano performed the ceremony. The vows were simple, traditional. Dante, I can't promise you safety or normalcy, but I promise you truth, loyalty, and all of me. Elena, I can't promise I won't challenge you or drive you crazy, but I promise you love, partnership, and all of me. I now pronounce you husband and wife. Dante kissed her like she was oxygen. The reception at Bellanotte mixed both their worlds, mafia bosses and diner co-workers side by side. Marco toasted. To Elena, the only woman brave enough to tame the Valentino beast. At midnight, they slipped away to the penthouse, still in wedding clothes. Any regrets? He asked. None. You? Only that I didn't find you sooner. 6 months later, Elena stood at Russo Community Center, Dante's gift, funded and named for her. She was teaching ESL when her phone rang. How's class? Dante asked. Good. Dinner at 7? Always. A pause. Elena, the FBI dropped the investigation, and I closed the gambling operations. Tears filled her eyes. You're really doing it. For you, for us, for the future. Speaking of future, she took a breath. I'm pregnant. Silence. Then, say that again. 10 weeks. We're having a baby. She heard him tell Marco, heard Marco's shout. I'm coming to get you, right now. When he arrived, he swept her into his arms in front of her entire class. We're having a baby. The class erupted in applause, congratulations in 10 languages. Outside, snow beginning to fall, Elena asked, Are you scared? Terrified. What if I'm like my father? You won't be, you're already different. He pulled her close. I'm going to be completely legitimate before this baby comes. You have 7 months. Then we work fast. 2 years later, at Bellanotte's second location, completely legitimate, Dante held their daughter Isabella while cutting the ribbon. She was 14 months old, dark hair and blue eyes. After the ceremony, a reporter asked, Mrs. Valentino, do you regret your choice? Elena looked at Dante holding their daughter, at Nonna beaming, at the life they'd built. No, I don't regret a single thing. That evening, closing time, they danced slowly while Isabella slept in Nonna's arms. This is good, Dante whispered. This is everything, Elena corrected. She looked up at him. I'm pregnant again. 10 weeks. He froze. Elena, I know, we're insane, but we're insane together. They stood in their restaurant, their family around them. Outside, snow fell on Manhattan. Inside, warmth and laughter and love. Elena Valentino, who'd stopped for a bleeding stranger 3 years ago and found her forever. Not perfect, not safe, not what anyone expected. But theirs, and in its imperfection, absolutely perfect.